I hope more people join, and if not, like, we've got a tight crew here. I know there are some people who genuinely couldn't make it, but actually, let me just make sure I'm answering my messages because there might be one other person who wants to come. Oh, maybe the link is broke, Let's see.
For me, so the link you sent me in the direct message worked.
Yeah.
When I went for my email, it just created its own thing. There was no link in mine. I don't know if that's my experience.
Okay, so then let me, if you guys don't mind letting me take like 1 second here to make sure there's some folks who probably are experiencing that, but you know what, we're rolling with the punches. Technology is not always super helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to info here. I'm going to copy joining info, and then I'm just going to send it out manually. Thank you for that information, though, my love. Link. Maybe I should have just made it a meeting thing, but like for me, calendar is Bible. So if it's like not, oh, you know what? That's not the right link. Let me fix this. Okay, but to the point that you were making, I have a lot of analog practices. I actually really encourage them. The problem is the follow through, and then the technology support of reminders and being able to search within your journal. Like if you could upload your journal digitally and search within it and add reminders, that's essentially what we're trying to do with Notion. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want you eliminating the analog things at work, because there's some neurology there that we want to bank on, and also some spell casting, you know, like that's very important. Opens to a blank event. Girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
See, that's literally what I was thinking. I was like, okay, I can write stuff in my journal, but I got to get it off the journal because I'd be like, oh, I don't want to mess this one up. Let me get another one. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then we get addicted to starting new things, you know, and that's low-key self-sabotage. And I'm not saying that to call you out. I'm saying it to call you
out. Don't judge me, okay?
That's exactly what I do. You know, anytime I'm calling you out, it's me saying to me this shit. Okay. Like I am no better than you. The irony of me being paid to help other people get organized is that I leave my phone in the fridge once a week. Okay. So we're just rolled, like, this is just the way things are. So, but also I think that that's like important to recognize, like even within yourselves, and we'll talk about that a little bit today when we do our values, is, you know, the problems that you experience in life is the universe trying to beg you to solve them because nobody else can solve them like you. And then once you have that solution, that's the product or service that you should be providing for people. You know, it doesn't matter if you're like, you know, like me, you're at itty bitty titty committee and there are no bras that actually fit you. And then you're like, I'm going to go make this product. Or it could be really profound. Like my sister, she has type 1 diabetes and she has had a lot of trouble creating community and navigating the healthcare system with the United States. And that's like been something that has been really healing for her, but also created a pathway for her to say, hey, listen, I'm no expert, but like, you know, this, like, avoid these roads. Like it's not going to be successful down that way. So let me just focus here, y'all, so that I can get this to everybody. Oh my goodness. The more you know. I've never done a public invitation before. So let me see if I can make this just. And while we're doing this, have you all had access to that values exercise that I sent out in the newsletter? Yeah? Okay, cool. So did you all have values that you brought today that you wanted to discuss, or did you want me to maybe use like go through the exercise with you? Because oftentimes like values can feel a little overwhelming because it's like trying to read the label from inside the bottle sort of thing. But then there are also people who have like done this. This is like not their first rodeo, right? And so they've had like a very clear understanding of their values. But like what I really like is to not just define those values or not just choose those values, but define them for ourselves. because being explicit is like a really important process for manifestation if you want to go woo-woo with it, but it's also just like basic subconscious programming. We want to be able to say specifically what freedom means for us and what the expression of that definition looks like across all of the areas of life, right? Whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, sexual, financial, etc. Values across or areas of life can vary, but like they all boil down to like some variation of like the 7 chakras, So, okay, let me just, multitasking here is not my strong suit. Now I feel like a dick for calling people out or like, where are you? It's me. It was my fault. Okay, font. Let's just make it red so people can see. Okay. There was no pin for you guys to join, correct? No. Okay. And just because I'm doing this, if you guys have time and want to, I can stay on the call a little bit longer if we have stuff to discuss or you guys want some more troubleshooting. So like no stress there. Okay, let's send this bad boy out. And then I am going to send this invitation to my friend Al. Gosh, I'm impatient. Why is this taking so long? Could be joining info. Okay. So sent that to Elle. Hopefully she joins. All right, my dears. So essentially, Notion is a organizational system, right? It's, speak of the devil. It's an organizational system, and there are many out there, right? But and there are also a lot of other creators like me. Like I did not invent this concept. Like if you're familiar with The Second Brain or Tiago Forte or any one of like the many YouTube gurus that are like sharing Notion systems, my Notion template is very similar to that. But the values, connecting your values as the baseline is the one thing that I have not seen anywhere else in the world, which is really ironic because we all talk about heart-mind connection. We all talk about needing to have work-life balance. But the problem that I had as an entrepreneur that led me to burnout was that I had values for my business and then values to my life. And I was dictating my life by the values of my business, which were a part of them, but not actually going to lead me down anywhere but burnout. Because the values that I created for my business were reverse engineered from a marketplace. And then it was begging me to constantly show up inside of values that didn't have to reckon with, is this my purpose? Is this my dharma? Is this actually going to support me? Is it making sure that I'm prioritizing the purpose behind why I want to make a living the way that I want to make a living beyond just solving a problem that I feel called to? And that was a background in New York. I ran a production company for years. And so I got really good at optimizing the system. I like scaled that business really quickly at a very young age. I like got VC funding and all that stuff. But like I literally ended up in a psych ward from in psychosis because I was so burnt out. Okay, like serious girl boss recovering millennial energy. So this is why I always wanted to start and always do start like setting up my office template if you guys have that, but also just having an organizational system in general with your values. So what I want to do is just share my screen with the Notion template itself. And this is exactly what you guys would be getting if you did decide to, let me close this, get my template. So right here, we have like our little welcome section. That's not necessary because you're getting it live with me. So something to consider if you do have the budget is to get the office, because each week I'm going to be walking you through and holding your hand with like setting this up, while also doing the weekly ritual that you benefit from after having this entire system set up. So you'll see my Notion home. It looks similar in that I have my values and my tasks and projects and all, and clients and content and all of that. But the difference is that this has like a blank slate so that you can just like walk in and fill things out. So values is where we're going to start, which is up here. 99.9% of the time, every single person I have worked with has some variation of a value of freedom, right? Sometimes people mistake finances and money as a value system, when really it's what's behind what money can give you is the ability to, by my definition, do whatever you want whenever you want to, and also be yourself in all rooms without compromising your safety. Does that sound like something that you guys agree with? Yes. Okay, so before I just do this with like a mock case study, does anybody want to volunteer their values so that we can workshop them and put them into the Notion template? Hold on, I can't see you guys.
I mean, I have no problem sharing mine. And I redid the values lesson because I wanted to compare them to my values the previous time that I worked with you and we did those. So I still have those saved in my Notion. And I was just curious to see if those were still aligned, because I know sometimes as we grow as people, those can change, right? So I'm also happy to do that.
That's really good. Now, if you are going into your Notion every week and changing your values, then your values are not in alignment and they're way off. But to Tiana's point, if at the end of a year that you've run your values and like run the system through your values, like you're going to want to, at the very least, like reckon with whether or not the definition of those terms are correct, and or whether or not reorganizing the prioritization of them. But to be honest, values should live in a horizontal, like non-hierarchical system. So Tiana, first thing, do you have a freedom value? And if not, what would you like to start with?
I do have a freedom value. And that was the primary one that I think was similar between the values that I just did briefly, but also the one we previously did. And the one we previously did, we also listed like individual definition and challenges, like potential challenges. So freedom was like what I value as a whole. And my definition was an overabundance of time that allows me to prioritize people and experiences that bring me the most peace and satisfaction. And the challenge for that was creating flexible and sustainable active income sources and building a foundation of passive income source streams, as well as overcoming upper limits thresholds.
We love that. Ashay, can we please get you to copy and paste that into the chat so I can put it in here for everybody to see? And just so you guys know, every single one of these pages and icons, whether it's inside of the task list down here, where we have your actual like setup process, or just as like a post-it note here, when you click into it, it opens up as a page, or it should. And we have the properties at the top, which are filling out, but you also have a note-taking system down here, which is similar to Evernote. So if you wanted to like bring in images or bring in text or bring in videos, you could pop it into the body without it actually being taking up a whole amount of space inside of your dashboard. Because this, which I will reference a couple of times, this here is your dashboard. Meaning like when you're driving a car, you need to see every single thing that makes your car working, but you don't necessarily need to open up the entire engine to drive. That makes sense, you know? So this is us like popping the hood and actually taking a look at things. So Tiana, I'm gonna grab that from our chat. Can you put the definition in there as well? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna copy, paste this. All right. And I like to put definition at the front because then you can see it here, right? Now, the limitations, Tianna, will be different for you. Generally speaking, my core customer is too disorganized, doesn't have enough money, and or has some sort of physical limitation that isn't allowing them to be as free as they would like to, whether that's like mental, spiritual, or physical. So same thing, Tianna, if you want to like give us a little bit of a chat around what your limitations or challenges are that are preventing you from living in alignment with your definition of freedom, right? And you can explain that and also paste it in the chat as well. Okay, challenges. Okay. So before we add our next value, because we want to add all of Tianna's values here, I want to give you a little bit of a sneak preview on the next step and also the frame of mind that we need to be having when we're doing our value definitions. Let me know, have you guys ever heard like, oh, as entrepreneurs, we have to wear all the hats? Heard that before? Okay. Now, the problem, and Tianna knows this because this is one of my core lessons, is the problem isn't that you're wearing all the hats, okay? The problem is that you're wearing them at the same time, which is absolute insanity. Like, could you imagine spending 10 grand to go see Beyonce front row, and then she notices that the choreography is off, and instead of just being Beyonce and performing, she goes, hey, everybody, can we stop? I just need to talk with the team about how this choreography needs to be better, which is you interrupting yourself and putting out a fire, which is also why we need to make sure that when we are in our value definition, right, which is something that we do habitually once a year, right? This is the ceremony that I often take at the beginning of creating the office or at the beginning of my yearly cycle, whether that's the spring equinox or the winter one, it's up to you. I genuinely want you guys to be able to have a schedule that allows you to not only put a hat on at a specific time, but put that shit away. Could you imagine being at like a huge corporation and having like the founder of the entire business at your little cubicle, like watching you and critiquing you while you write an email? Like we got to stop doing that. So after we have created and defined all of our values, it's our responsibility to ceremoniously put that bitch away and put our next version of ourselves on, which is a tier down in the corporate structure, which is our C-suite, right? This is our COO, our CEO, our CFO, and go, oh my God, Tianna, like, that's so great that that's your value. And like, that's so woo-woo, girl. But like, when are you going to make that happen? How are you going to make that happen? And what's the fucking deadline? Because that version of you needs to show up and replace the visionary, because the visionary is not going to be very good at like making sure that you hit a deadline. You know what I mean? So when we look at this limitation, Tianna, like for you is like, again, and goals should be something that are big and lofty. A goal is not, oh, I want to clean my room today. No, that's a task within the project of moving out within a goal of becoming divorced from your husband, who's a piece of shit. Yes? So, well, not to project, but basically what we're talking about here is how will the CEO version of you, Tianna, pick up these limitations and then create a goal to solve it? Not solve it forever, but like by the end of the year, what would be a good marker for you to say, okay, I've actually addressed some of these limitations?
So just reflecting on where I was like previously, I actually have the overabundance of time has definitely come up, but also the flexible and sustainable active income. I have actually started doing freelance work for like event and experiential marketing. So it's all freelance. I'll do it all on my own time. And then I've also the upper limit thresholds. Like, so this was the previous one I did, and then reflecting on it, the upper limit thresholds, I've also like overcome, I guess, like the income threshold that I was previously at in terms of like what I'm making now in my freelance work. So for me, I guess the next step would be, how do I continue to expand on those steps that I've already sort of made for myself in that direction? And I've only been doing the event and productions for about 6 months. So I definitely think I can set a timeline for myself for how long do we continue doing freelance, and then what's the next step of growth, because it's also like expansion is another one of my values. So just constantly like expanding on what I've already built, which I think would look more like maybe I'm right now just working as like an on-site support, I guess, but moving into more the actual production aspect of it, like event production. So
Okay.
that's kind of where I think that it would be the next solution for
Okay.
me.
No, and this is really wonderful because this is the visionary version of you trying to translate it into a goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little cunty and we're going to say, okay, yeah, but like how much and when? Is it money?
Okay.
If it's
Yes.
not a measurable statistic and data point, is it something that you're defining for yourself? Is it a feeling? How would you measure that feeling? You know?
Money, but also how much I'm working. So right now I'm really only working part-time. I'd like to move in a more full-time direction. So I'd say on average, I'm probably working like 15, 20 hours a week,
Mhm.
which is great because I'm making more per hour than I used to, and it's sustainable for me. But now the next step is, okay, well, how do we level this up to full-time? So between like, I think I don't ever want to work 40 hours a week, but I think between 30 and 35 hours a week for me would be fantastic.
Okay.
So I would measure that in terms of like how much more I'm working, and then also how much additional money that brings in.
Okay. Something that I always like to clock when it comes to goals is like the example of like, do you want the metric to be how much weight you've lost, or do you want the metric to be how many times you showed up at the gym? Because if you say, I want to lose 10 pounds, every single time you go to the gym and you haven't lost 10 pounds, what are you doing to yourself?
You're just shitting on yourself. You're like, I'm not getting anywhere closer to my goal.
Okay, so I think if I was your CEO, I would say you want to get at least 5 rejections from 5 new clients every week, or 5 new like submissions, right? So like you're actually you're making the carrot the thing that you normally would shame yourself about.
Okay, I like that.
Right. So I'm going to give you some space to think. How would you want to, and again, could be weekly, but I would say average by the end of the year, how many people do you want to have outreached, right? Not how many people would you like to get in as client, but how many people, like how many swings up at the bat would you like to have like seen to make sure that your execution is a reflection of creating that flexibility, you know?
Yes, absolutely. That's a good, I definitely feel like I need to sit with that and think more about that and what would be, again, realistic for me in terms of, it's still like a lofty enough goal to where it feels uncomfortable, but also I'm not going to shit on myself when I don't get anywhere near that goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's this wonderful goal that I'm sure you guys saw on TikTok where she's like collecting failures, collecting rejections. And she has a little notebook, and every single time she gets a rejection, she like writes it in and she's like, oh my God, good job. You know, meanwhile, she like won a beauty pageant and is like a published author just because she like wanted to fuck around and find out. And I just really love that energy. But Tianna, we're not actually wearing the hat of your CEO. And it's sort of hard to shift between those two mentalities. I just wanted to give you guys a preview of where this is going and why we are doing this first, and how it eventually turns into just sort of a classic accountability system of goals that are broken down into project management systems. You know what I mean? So let's pull back. Now that we have freedom, do you want to give us the next value that you have in your system? And then we can do the same exercise that we did before.
Yes, absolutely. I'll read it out. And then do you want me to also put this one into the chat?
Yeah, please. It would be great.
Okay, perfect. So the value is expansion, which I previously mentioned, but my individual definition for it is change is a universal constant. So continual improvement on a personal level, utilizing consistency and discipline as vehicles for accomplishing goals. And then my challenge was, which I've managed to, oh, can I scroll? Am I frozen? 1 second. Okay, so my challenge is self-improvement comes at a cost. So developing a system that allows me to manage time more efficiently and hold a greater capacity for responsibilities, which was the whole point of Notion, which now that I've like built up that foundation for myself through Notion, I learned Notion, I figured out how to create like an operating system for myself within Notion. I do also need to switch into seeing where the next goal would be.
Okay.
For the next challenge.
So go ahead and paste both of those things into the chat. I'll put them in here.
Okay.
And Tianna, the body of the values page is a good place for you to just like word vomit, use your dictation tool, maybe plug that into like an AI and see what themes pull out. Like, I do not like AI as a thinker for you, but I do believe it as a way to sort of externalize your thought system and feed it back to you. You know, you're going to have that here with me once a week, but it's really important that you sort of like gestalt therapy your life and be able to get outside of yourself. You know, one of the things that I really also like to add, and I'll just say this whenever I'm talking to AI, is just make sure you build in a protocol that says, do not agree with me, because it's just defaulted to that. But anyways, let's get that value in here. Save expansion, awesome. And then the definition and the challenges for that as well. And okay, great. And just a little marker for time, you guys. We're about like halfway through. I am going to stay on a little bit longer. And at the end, if you guys have any questions, feel free in the meantime to put them into the chat so that we have them marked. But I do want to make sure that we all open up our calendars, whether that's physical or like iCalendar or Notion calendar. And let's make sure that we're blocking out some time for ourselves to like execute some of the things that we need to get done. But more importantly, like I said before, make sure that we're blocking the things that are non-negotiable for our like work-life balance, right? Like I literally schedule my lunch every day because otherwise this bitch will not eat. Okay, so challenges. Okay, Tianna, so let's put that there. All right, let's keep this moving. What is your next value? And also expansion is with an S, right?
Yes. Oh, whoops. I accidentally just went backwards. So let me go click back into here. So my next value is actually my final one because my rule of 3, I do kind of keep to that. So my last one is intentionality. So living a magical and purposeful life starts with intention, intentional habits and routines, intentional discipline, intentional relationships with the divine and the earth, inspiring others to do the same. And the challenges, potential challenges, were finding more creative and organized way to express myself through social media that simultaneously serves a higher purpose for my audience, which I definitely taken a step back from. So it's interesting to reflect on that one.
No, that's fine. And this is the thing is like, there are going to be certain values that come to the front and that are prioritized because they're bottlenecking the very basic, you know, Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? Like, yes, of course I would love to live free, but like, I don't have an extra zero that I need to be able to fuck off to Saint-Tropez and fly all my girls out because I feel like it. You know what I mean? And I often feel like it. But that's not as important as me making sure that like the foundation underneath that is really solid. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get those definitions in here as well. Lovely.
Challenges,
Limitations.
okay.
Okay. So I'm big on beautification. Glamour magic is real, whether that's on your body or in your life. So I just want to show you guys a feature, and this actually might be helpful for those of you who like are, you know, new to Notion or don't really know all of its like fun features. But I like to choose emojis, icons, and we can also upload images. And the other thing we can do is add a cover, right? Notion has some really beautiful image licensing from the Met as well as NASA. So you can pull some really beautiful images. You can also just do any of the colorways that they have here. I'm sorry, my internet's a little slow. And then of course you can also change the emoji. So I don't know, maybe intentionality is a yin yang or something like that. This can be done on every single page. It's not just isolated to your dashboard and your values. Every single open page you have has this feature. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going to leave goals, Tianna, for next week. And since you are one of the paid members of Office Hours, we can continue to use you as our guinea pig because you volunteered, and I'm just going to honor that. But before we move on to our weekly calendar scheduling and sort of talking about how, while we're doing the top-down values, goals, projects, tasks, I also want you to build from the bottom up and have a list of tasks that are outside of your Notion system, or if you're like Tianna, they're already in Notion, and schedule the DO date, not not the DUE date, the DO date of when you're getting these things done. And also making sure that you add a buffer around that time, because our brain is naturally optimized, meaning that it's going to think that it takes half the time that it does to get things done, right? Like if you're building a house, it's going to be twice as much and twice as long, right? If you're planning to shoot social media, it's going to be twice as long, you know, twice as frustrating as we think. Now that will get shorter over time, but what we want to make sure we're doing is building trust between the word that you have promised yourself and the execution. You know, and that's like, we could go deep into the neuroscience of that and how that's really important to get us out of fight or flight to really build trust within ourselves. But I think at the end of the day, it's just about grab your task list, open your calendar. Let's make sure that we actually have the entire week scheduled. Not to say at the end of the day, we're not going to switch things around or things come up or we need to add things. But it's really important that we put our project manager hat on or like our shift manager hat on and be like, when I open my Notion on Monday or when I open my calendar on Monday, I'm not wondering whether or not the stuff that's on my task list is stuff that I actually need to do. You know, mine is like literally putting out a fire, you know? Okay, so let's, let me stop sharing my screen for a second and then just open this up. I talk fast, it's a lot of information. How's everybody feeling? Good? Good, amazing. Okay, something to know about the office is that you get internal access, right? So Tianna, I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure I still have access to you. If not, you can always invite me.
I still have my homepage and I'm pretty sure you still are but I'll double check.
Okay. Yeah. One way to do that is to add me as a paid member. It's an extra $20 a month. You do need to have a paid membership with Notion, which is $20 a month to have all of the features that are really powerful and also to be able to use my system in its entirety. You do get a little bit of a discount monthly if you pay per year, but like, listen, money's tight for me right now. So just like, you know, take it with a grain of salt, whatever works for you works. And, you know, in a lot of ways, you could do this in a notebook. It's just, you're going to be doing a lot of flipping and a lot of rewriting, you know, so just think about it. As far as writing your values for the first time, there's something really powerful about getting a big sheet of paper and fucking getting creative with it. But once you have solidified that definition, I want you to bring it into a digital space where you can actually follow through. Yeah. Okay. So, any questions so far? Does anybody want to workshop a value that they have? Any questions around maybe having too many? If not, we can move right into it. Yeah, Natalie, go ahead.
You mentioned like 5 minutes ago, like the scale between like the values and the tasks, like values, challenges. Can you repeat that? Like which were the elements in that scale?
Sure. So I really should have a visual for this. And in my email, I actually, you know what, I do have one in Canva, so I'll follow up with this as well. But we have our system itself is values that are translated into goals, that are broken down into projects, that are executed by tasks. The hat we wear for each is the visionary for values. Yeah. The CEO for our goals, the project manager for our projects, and our employee for our tasks. Now, employee is interchangeable with maker if you're creative and also your personhood. This is the material body that's moving you through the promise you made of your higher being. Yeah?
Great, thank you.
But at least, girl, Larkin, you better fucking join this shit. Where is she? Hi, Mimi! My queen. Okay, sorry. We're going over archetypes. The last and most important aspect, right, is like you have the thing itself, you have the person you need to be, and then you have the time, right? That's three-dimensional reality. The time is annually, we put on our visionary hat to do our values. Yeah. Quarterly, we put on our CEO hat to solidify our goals, right? Then we have our monthly ritual of being our project manager to strategize our projects. Now, there is an in-between before we get to employee, which we're going to do right now, is our weekly ritual of putting our project manager hat, our shift manager hat on to be able to be like, this is everybody's restaurant schedule. This is where you're showing up and when. And then on a daily practice, we start with our individual personal self, right? This is the self-care person, right? And we'll get into this next week when we do our daily habits. But this is a person that wakes up, does her morning pages, has a coffee, smokes a blunt, whatever it is your thing is, okay? And then we go into Notion and we start our fucking work, right? Whether that's mental, financial, spiritual, whatever it is that we've decided for the day from our project manager. And then that's the person we want to be 99% of the time, right? We want to be doing, we want to basically take the 80% of the shit that we don't want to be concerned about and give it to the other people, give it to the higher selves. And then the 20% we're doing, you know, that feeling of being like, why am I spending more time running my business than doing the thing that runs my business, right? That's the person that we want to empower on that day to day, right? And again, the plan will not go to plan. We will have to put out fires, but the ability to pivot in and out is going to be so much more powerful because we have a trust build from all of these other versions of ourselves that have made decisions that we don't have to be concerned about. I don't have to be concerned whether or not the shit is on my task list is going to bring me into alignment because it went through a fucking gauntlet of filters. Like the amount of Swiss cheese that had to align for that perfect hole for that task to fall through, right? Because to find a needle in a haystack, you burn the other shit down. You don't fucking go through every single email being like, is this the needle? Is this the needle? Should I do this? Like, no, I don't have time for that. My God, I don't have the patience. Like, I really don't. So Natalie, fantastic question. I will make a visual for us. I think it's something that you should definitely always come back to and ask, like, what hat are we wearing when we're doing certain things? But the hat we're about to wear is that in between. We're going to put our project manager hat and we're going to go through our list of tasks. Now, unfortunately, if you have not done what Tianna has done, your list of tasks, maybe they're not from your higher self. You know what I'm saying? But we have to be okay with flying and fixing the plane at the same time. I'd rather you have a list of tasks where you're doing your project management weekly scheduling than not do it at all and wait until you've built out the entire Notion. And then that's just not going to help. We're going to build from the top down and the bottom up at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
I
So-
actually did exactly what you guys don't want to do, and it took me almost 2 years to do it. So the advice she's giving, like, I had to wait to build out Notion for my brain to function with it, but it's taken me 2 years. So you guys can get ahead.
And
of
also,
that.
Tianna, like, I am the victim of my own making. Like, I struggle with this. My task list right now, fucking crazy. Has not going through the gauntlet. Anyways, that's just what Q1 did to me. But I'm not worried because I have a system that I can run the dishwasher. I can go to my kitchen and be like, well, it's stacked to shit. I guess I got to run the dishwasher a couple of times. But what I don't want you to be doing is like scrubbing it by hand and like we don't have to do that. It's like a big struggle for no reason. So Tianna, would you be comfortable with being the guinea pig again and like working through your tasks for the week? I mean, the other thing that I can do, and maybe I'll do this first if you're okay with it, is just show you what my Notion calendar looks like. Are you using Notion calendar as an application right now, or are you just using Google?
I'm just using Google, but I also am not. So I finally have, like, I guess my operating set up with my dailies and all the things that my brain normally needs to hold capacity for. So I actually do feel like in terms of due dates and all of the things that the CEO and the project manager hats will wear, I will probably be using Notion for those things.
Okay. Well, if that's okay, since you don't have Notion calendar, I'm going to be the guinea pig here and show you guys what my system looks like. My life right now is like very chill. I like work once a week and then I just have like, I go to the gym once a day. It's really nice. But I am in a season where I like want to feel this Aries energy. I want to get an uptick. I want to really be offering you guys more. Like I have put my camera down for entirely too long. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. I'm going to share Notion calendar. Notion calendar is free, but why I like Notion calendar, okay, is because I can integrate my tasks inside of my calendar, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here. Okay. Can you guys see this? Yeah? Okay. So right now, my Notion task list is completely empty. You'll see one here in my weekly review, which I'm doing now. Okay. If I click this, do we see how this is connected to Notion? Okay. This task, all right, and let me stop sharing my screen so you can see the whole shebang. This task, when I click it, is inside of Notion, inside my project of my daily habits, connected to my goal of being hotter than ever by the end of this year. Okay? And hotness is a spiritual practice. Okay, it's not a physical one, you know? So what I'm gonna do right now is be like, okay, this is literally what I'm doing. This is what office hours is. I told you guys this is what I fucking do. Yeah? The date is on April 26th. If I were to change this to have an end time and also include a time, it would show up on my calendar the exact way, the same way, the way that you would be doing this inside of Google Calendar, right? So from 1 to 2 p.m., I click enter. Then when I go back here, do you see how it's now in that time slot? Okay, so Tiana, it does eliminate the copy and paste that you would need to be doing if you just did this from Google Calendar. Right? And if you're like me and you're a girly that has more than one calendar, I have my personal calendar that has all like my gym as a daily practice, my morning rituals as a daily practice, some of like my therapy on Tuesday, but then it also has my not Notion calendar. Okay. And sorry, this should be my default calendar, but let me go in here, and because aesthetic is important, I want this to be red because that's the color of my brand.
And I just real quick, so that's integrated into your Google Calendar, right?
Yes, ma'am. And basically when you, same as iCalendar, when you open up Notion Calendar, it'll ask you to connect all of the other emails and accounts you have your calendar running from.
Okay.
If you have Outlook, book a time with me. I would be happy for free to show you how Zapier has a built-in workaround. If you have Outlook, it'll pull things from your Outlook inbox and put it into your Outlook email. But Outlook and Notion are competitors, so you just have to have a workaround, right? So feel free to reach out to me about that. But yeah, so what I want you guys to know is reoccurring tasks. Okay, this is something that's connected to our daily habits that we're going to get into next week. But what are the daily non-negotiable things that you have to take time for that you're not actually taking time for? Like eating, shitting, showering, journaling, working out, driving, the things that you have in your brain don't think that you have to do when you set a to-do list of the entire day back to back and you're living off of fucking coffee and anxiety. Yeah? So what I want you guys to do, I'm going to take the next like 2.5 minutes. I want you to open up your own calendar and I want you to create a reoccurring daily practice. Okay. So just start by filling out your entire day with, this is the time that I wake up. This is the time that I journal. This is the time I go to the gym. If it's not every single day, that's fine. It can be a weekly practice as well. And we can talk about that the week after when we do our weekly rituals, because rituals are not just daily, they're weekly, quarterly, monthly, and yearly, which like we talked about, Natalie, with those different archetypes. So Tiana, I'm going to use you as the example. You don't have to share your screen, but like, does your Google Calendar right now have all of the things that take time out of your day that you are not scheduling within your practice?
Google Calendar does not, but my Notion does. I have put my dailies into all of my Notion, and they do a reoccur on like a daily basis at certain times of the day as well. So like I have just because like part of my routine is like you look good, feel good. Like I just have my morning routine. I have in there like the order that I like put my makeup on, do my hair, all the little things, like you said, like because there's so many things that we actually do that we don't account for. And I want to be able to measure how productive I actually am and all of the things that take up the time. So I do have all of my dailies in Notion, but I guess I just don't have them attached to the calendar yet. But I don't know if that's just the way that my OS is set up, but that's definitely, I guess, where I'm looking for more direction with the office hours.
I would say bring it into next week, attempt to create a Notion calendar account on your own. YouTube and Notion have like a really great relationship. There are really, really great instructionals on how to work that, but bring that as a top of mind question and we can workshop by you sharing your screen if you are having issues, because if you're having issues, other people are having issues, and then we can have it recorded and have it be a resource for people to look back on. Okay. But the most important thing, I think, Tiana, is that we want to make sure that it's time blocked.
Okay.
Because otherwise your brain is not being held accountable to the actual amount of time that you have, which is probably 4 hours of attention span really on a daily.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know how people say 9 to 5, you probably only work 3 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Okay.
So we've got to unlock that sort of indoctrination of when I'm at school, I'm doing school. No, you're not. You're getting up, you're going to the bathroom, you're walking, you're going to get lunch, you're, skipping class like I did. So,
Okay.
is that clear for everybody? Did anybody have any questions around how to do that? And if not, I would love to have you set a DO event of you actually doing that after the call today. Right? And make that the reoccurring thing that you need to be doing, is making sure that you, every Sunday on this call or after it, you have an hour to an hour and a half of going through your entire task list, to which will eventually live inside of Notion, and making sure that all the things that you need to do this week by the end of this week are actually time blocked within the space outside of the things that are non-negotiables. And if you're struggling with those non-negotiables and you're like, Daryl, what should those be? That's what next week is for. So just bring them with you and we'll workshop them then. Yeah? Okay, very cool, very cool. So we have a little bit of extra time. I know that there might be some questions around like, what is the membership? What is it being asked of me? Like I have some pretty intense rules with the commitment, because I just don't want it to be something where you guys hop on and hop off of, because the whole reason why I'm charging you money is so that you have skin in the game and you have some sort of motivation, because I'm not doing this for the money. I would genuinely do this for free, because I do it for free for myself every week, and I'd be happy to share that. But if you do not spend money, and if you do not fear losing that money, like if you were to, I don't know, pay for school, it's just psychologically not going to push you past out of your bad habit and into something that forces you to do this with or without me. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then close this out. Okay, how's everybody feeling? Did it make sense? Tianna, thank you for volunteering. Okay. Did I speak too fast? Probably. Yeah, so like I said, we are going to be going through this setup of the Notion template, and we will be through it probably by the end of May, realistically. Then for June and July, we're actually going to, because it's January, February, March, Q1, April, May, June, Q2, July, August, September, we will basically be ready for you guys to do your first quarterly review, July 1st. And then through the end of the year, we'll be rinsing and repeating this until it's fucking second nature, right? And your Notion is fucking popping and customized, so that by the time Q4 rolls around, you're like doing this shit in your sleep. We're talking about going beyond just, okay, like I need to get organized as a bottleneck solution, but like, where do I really want to go with my extra time? What you're not going to do is fill your fucking extra time with work. Okay. You're going to be filling it with the shit that you needed to create space for, so that you can actually slingshot yourself into whatever reality that you need next. Right. And then, we'll all do a little rinse and review at the end of the year, and we will come back to those value systems, right? And we will say, hey, like, are these actually my values? What did I notice that was in alignment and that wasn't? Should I add one? Should I delete one? Right? Were my goals too lofty? Should they have been loftier? Should I have like broken them down a little bit more? Was I too focused on finances? Did I let my other stuff slip? And then once you are with me at the beginning of next year, like this is going to be so rhythmed out, and we can really talk about, do I have a Notion product from the way that I've customized this for my industry that I can consider as passive income? And that's on, if you guys came to me from TikTok, that's the only way that you get access to that. I think the problem we have in the world right now, and I'm like, give me a little like amen if you feel this, but the amount of people selling shit that they don't use is fucking gross and weird. And that's why I have like weird men being like, oh, this always feels fucking fake. I was like, bitch, you don't have a discernment, and don't like, just move on. Why are you talking to me? So the template is something that I want to have this accountability system to be in place for you to be able to afford. But once you've worked the template, I'm not requiring you to hire me one-on-one. I just want you to know that it's staged so that you can start with like, this is something our old teacher talked about. What I actually really believe is true is that when you go into Chanel, okay, you can buy the $20,000 vintage Chanel bag. All right. Or you can get the Chanel scarf, Or you can just get a little keychain. But no matter what, you're walking into the store and buying something at a quality of service to work you towards those bigger things. And that's how I want you to feel inside my house. Okay. Just because you guys are in like the quote unquote lower tier, I don't want you to feel like I am not here for you. I'm not ride or die for you, that the quality of service that I'm providing doesn't entitle you to be sassy to me, accountable to me, and also to demand as much of me that you would want to demand to yourself, because that's honestly how we're going to make ourselves better here. And pretty sure y'all are here because you know this about me already. But if you, and this is the last task we're going to put in, is like, if you promise me that you're going to do one thing this week, and next week I notice that you're not doing it, because I'm going to check your fucking homework, I'm going to get full Gordon Ramsay on you, and I'm going to be a fucking bully to the version of yourself that is breaking your promises. Okay? Radiation in Chernobyl, bad. Radiation for cancer, good. So if that's not something that's really going to like light a fire under your ass and it really is overwhelming to you, I cannot change that. It's a part of my personality. Look at my birth chart. Yeah? And to be honest, the reason why I really covet that is because that's true femininity, right? It's an uncontrollable, expansive, destructive force. But when it's funneled in the right direction and the purpose behind it is love, like that's really where I'm coming from. Because like I grew up in a fucking chaotic environment. I was emotionally abused. Like I do not respond well to like, honey, sweetie, darling, don't you think that you deserve a little better? Like, no, I'm going to respond to like my tennis coach is like, you can fail if you want to. Like, I don't fucking care. Yeah? Okay. So, but we're going to have fun. Come on. We're going to start with a cute jam. We're going to like talk about the stars and the moon. We're going to put our cute outfits on. Like we're still women here, you know, although all people are included. You know, I just like know my audience. And then the last task I would like for you guys to have, because we're pulling Notion Gemini notes out of this, is I want each of you, if you are comfortable, to on call tell me the one thing that you want to be held accountable for next week. Yeah? No right or wrong answers.
I guess I will just volunteer and say that I want to be next week. I want to be held accountable for figuring out how to attach the dailies I already have into time blocking in my calendar.
Okay, amazing. Awesome. That's a good one. Natalie, what do you have?
I because I did the values exercise, but I didn't write like the definition and the limitations and so on. So I'm going through. I will go through that this week. And also, I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if okay. The values. There are some of the values that I feel like I really am aligned like to those values, but there are other values that I wish I can have. How do I like should be on? I only like include the ones that I am right now, or the ones that I want to.
You want to include every single one so that like your highest fantasy is a reality, right? And it's your definition of perfection. You will never achieve it. It's a moving target, but you'll get closer and closer. Yeah. So I would say that the values that you wish are where the goals need to be. Because if you're in alignment with the other ones, like, girl, you're good. Just do the maintenance. Yeah.
Great.
And if you need a workshop, then let me know. And then another thing I really like, if you want to do physical, is this product here. I will link it in the follow-up email, but essentially it's a stack of like way more values than just the 50 that are in the Think to Perform website. And also it gives you the instruction of how, if you have too many values, how you can consolidate them. And if you are a physical person, putting these all out on a massive table and really like getting embodied with it, it can be really helpful, because sometimes values stack from underneath one another, right? If you have freedom and you have, let's say, creativity, sometimes your value is actually freedom within the definition of creativity, right? So what gets you to freedom is creativity, but creativity is not necessarily higher than freedom, right? Or it's the other way around. In order to get to creativity, you actually need to have freedom, because you can't create without that. So there's some stacking sometimes that happens, but like it's like the periodic element of periodic table of elements. You want to get it to its like most reduced form.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
It's gonna be kind of the same as Natalie. Make sure I do the value exercise and write out my little value definition.
Awesome. Yeah. And do you feel like you have any you did the exercise already or you did it?
No.
No, that's fine. Again, that's I only asked that question because I'm not trying to be like, did you do your homework? I just want to make sure that you like have what you need. So the follow-up email will also have the digital version. And you can make this yourself. You don't have to go out and buy the product. You can just go Google like a list of 100 value words and then just put them on note cards and physicalize it yourself. You know, and sometimes that is nice because then you can actually write the definition and limitation on the card and put it up somewhere in your room where you're looking at it every day. You know, especially if you're not using Notion yet.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Al, Larkin, do you guys want to chime in? If not, that's
I'll
totally
jump
fine.
in here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
I'm in a cafe with some funky music. I just gleaned even calendar blocking and how important it is to block time for things that we don't think need time, like doing hair and makeup, as someone shared, like taking time to get ready and really building that into the schedule every day and coming back to that as a means to an end. And I definitely need to be a better steward of my time because I think that's something that holds me back is like the abundance of it, not optimizing it, but not punishing myself for not constantly being productive either. Like allowing myself to have the victories of being productive, but instead of like always work shit, it's personal things, it's personal maintenance. I really love that concept and I want to by next week like go through and really set a structure for the things that are important to me beyond the things that just make me money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's so important. And Larkin, before you join, this is something that you and I really, really believe in is that it's not just having active time of working, like working out, working on your work, going to a meeting. And it's not just about passive time, like doing your makeup, doing doing yoga, taking yourself on a date, doing something creative. There's also a third thing, and that's neutral time. And meditation is usually the most like common practice of it, where you don't have any input, you don't have any output. But Larkin, I know, sorry, not to air your laundry, girl, but like you go on a walk every single day and you leave your cell phone. There's no music. Right? There's no input. There's like true just empty space because a lot of us are like, oh, I want this, I want that. Why isn't it happening? And it's like boredom. That's why when you're shitting on the toilet, you're like, oh, never thought of that because you're just sitting on the toilet, So Larkin, my love, thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you're going to be with us every week, but like, I don't know if you want to say hi to the people.
I just saw your email and was like, I got to get on. I'm sorry, I'm sweaty. I'm on the farm. It's Sunday. I've been chasing goats. So excuse me, I was hiding my face. My kids just got back from a camp thing. But anyways, yeah, I had to get on here. And you know why I had to get on here? Because I needed a refresher from my guru of productivity, the high priestess of Notion. I needed to get on here and just have a refresher. So that's why I'm here, just to hear your genius.
Amazing. Larkin has been a client and a dear friend of mine for the last year or so. And if you think you don't have enough time in your schedule, then you can just ask her what she gets done in a day. Yeah. But she's a mother, she's a photographer, she's an entrepreneur, she's homeschooling her kids. She is an absolute badass. She's beautiful. Her work is amazing. If you guys are curious about how the passive income thing works, and you're also looking for a more creative version of what the office, because the office is basically an empty vending machine. Larkin is actually my best example and basically my only example of somebody who's taken that and turned it into a product. So as a part of the follow-up email, I will send that because it's fucking sick and she's the one teaching it and it's applied to specifically creative people. I know you run a school for photographers and you're right now running a course that's all about creative practices. I would really encourage you guys to go look into that. And also Letting her
That's really sweet of you.
so.
Free plug. I'm sorry, I did not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was thinking about neutral time too when you were talking.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna, I'm just here to listen, but when you talked about neutral time, that's one of the main focuses of the creative practice that we're doing right now. And you know,
Mhm.
creativity is your birthright, so it's not something that we kind of make it a treat as opposed to making it the foundational source of being. We become the better people, more alive, more well-rounded, have greater capacity, more loving when we allow ourselves to start from the foundation of creativity and the things that get us off in our life. You know, the things that like being hot goal is my favorite thing that I've heard all year. I loved when we talked about that because that's so true and it's such a spiritual pursuit. But Rainer Maria Rilke, who is one of my favorite poems, he has a book and it's called Sonnets to Orpheus. And in the beginning of the book, he is quoted, because he died at the turn of the 20th century, but he's quoted as saying that this book downloaded over a period of days in a fever. And it's because he gave himself space to hear his sonnets. And that's one of the things about neutral time. Like, that's what we don't make space for in our passive culture of constant inputting or outputting our active time. The neutral time is a balancing force, and that's how we create flow. And that's how you hear, download from your higher genius. So we want to make space to hear our sonnets. And that's why I hoe it for some neutral time. Get out there and go 90s style. You don't need to have headphones in. The headphone addiction is wild. Taking your phone in the bathroom with you is wild. Let yourself sit with yourself. Anyways, I'm done. I just wanted to
No, a
say that
sermon.
I was here listening.
Love for Queen. Well, thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's make sure that we have all a universal task of adding a daily section of your time that's neutral. Would I like it to be the equal parts? Absolutely. But I know your asses are probably going to need to start with like a half an hour of like sitting in boredom. You know that TikTok trend where people just put a timer and they're like this? Yeah. That's what we mean. So, okay. I mean, amazing group. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I do feel bad. Al, thank you for letting me know that the link wasn't working because I'm imagining there are a couple of people who were like trying to join and couldn't. But I'm super grateful that we had such a tight group because the recording that we have here is going to go out to everybody so that they can catch up with us. Office hours officially launch on May 1st. And then that following Sunday, we're going to be meeting right back here. But the only way you're going to get access to that link is if you do sign up for the monthly membership. And you can cancel at any time, but this is your penalty. You owe me the balance of the rest of the year and you have to restart your contract before you can rejoin. Yeah? And that's a little scary, but it's also the thing that's going to make you go, oh, I have to do something else on Sunday. No, you don't. Not for me, but for you. Yeah? Is that okay? Okay. I love you very much. I will see you next time.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.